Hi, I'm Christina, and this is New Wayz podcast. Today, my guest is a nutritionist, Sara Rawda. Thank you for being here with me.
Thanks for inviting me, Christina.
It's always a pleasure having you on the pod. You know I love you. And today, the topic we are discussing is the European diet versus the American diet. And also probably in there too will include lifestyle. So to get us rolling, we came up with this conversation / topic because you recently went to Europe for an extended period of time, correct?
Yeah, I went to Italy for a week, and then I spent a lot of time, like 2 months back home in Lebanon. It's not, European, but the food is grown differently. And, you just notice a difference in your diet and the way you feel when you're overseas rather than in the US. And it's kind of why I wanted to talk about that today.
Okay, so from going there from the US, what was the first thing you noticed when it came to nutrition lifestyle over there?
So people there, this is more specifically in Europe, but you're more on a slower pace. And people are just, kind of going at their own pace. They're not rushing and grabbing things on the go as quick as people do here in the US. Like you always hear of getting fast food because it's the easiest thing that you can get. And in between work or work breaks, you just need something like super quick that you can have in 5 minutes. Whereas over there, you actually have the time. And even in Lebanon, you have the time to go and take your lunch and have, your lunch break and grab something that is actually nutritious and that isn't just to fuel you for those 5 minutes. And I think that's a big difference in how we eat and how we digest our foods. It's not always just about what you're eating, but also how you're eating it and how quickly you're eating the food and the surroundings of when you're eating your food as well. So surrounding yourself with, more positive environment, with more positive people, and all of that makes a huge difference.
Well, okay. Why do you think they have more time to eat their meals out there?
I think in Europe, just things in Spain, they have their siesta time where you can just go and take that time for yourself. Whereas here, it feels like it's always been rushed. You have to be there's always something that you need to be doing. You have to always, either if you're not doing anything, you're not being productive, basically. And I think we have this mindset here that others don't. If you're relaxing, you're also being productive and you're taking time for yourself. You don't always have to be doing something to feel accomplished, basically.
Oh, definitely. I feel like over there, they prioritize different things than we do here. We prioritize and value the hustle and bustle lifestyle. Like you said, if you're not moving, you feel like you're falling behind. But out there, I feel like they definitely see the value in enjoying a meal, romancing life, having good conversation with the meals. And I feel like, to me, that's one of the biggest riches in the world. So, okay, you're going to make a little less money because you take an extra 30 minutes to your lunch. To me, that's so fucking stupid. I'm sorry.
No, I know. And it's of course, being on vacation is a difference as well. You're not stressed. You're not going to be as bloated because, you're just on vacation. You're enjoying your time. And that plays a big role. Your lifestyle plays a big role in how you feel. But, and just in general, even if I know from people who live there, and not everywhere in Europe, and obviously not, I'm not generalizing, but I do believe that mostly they do take the time to have their meals and enjoy their meals rather than here. It's just eaten very quickly, which is not good for your digestive system and not good for your, hormonal levels too. That can increase your cortisol level and all of that.
So what you're saying too is people can benefit here in taking their time, taking more time when eating, being more mindful.
Yeah. So taking 20 to 30 minutes to have your meal, that can help you digest it. And also if you have the time for that, after dinner, go for a 30-minute walk after your largest meal of the day. And that can also help you digest that. So what that does, when you are taking this time to enjoy your meal, first of all, you're not distracted by other things. You're not stressed out about other things. And when I say take your time and have your meal, I mean chew your food really well, because if you don't, that's also going to cause bloating, because excess air comes into your stomach when you're not chewing your food well. And also, don't really surround yourself with like distractions or TV, or I always say don't eat with people you don't like, because that plays a big role.
Really?
Yeah. And if you're eating around someone you don't like or in a negative environment, you're already not feeling good. So imagine eating, and that's, food that you're going to digest, and your gut is not thriving in this moment. You know what I mean? I believe it plays a role if it's for an extended period of time. Obviously, one-offs are, doesn't count. But if it's like that, where you're just, depressed at work and you're having lunch there every single day, it's not going to sit as well as you're in a better environment and you're eating the same lunch.
Yeah. I mean, you are definitely the expert here, but also too, I've read that when you are in fight or flight mode, like your body actually stops digesting. What it is meant to do is be hyper aware of your environment to keep you safe. And a lot of us, like, that's what the stress response is, right? Except we are no longer living in like the woods. Now we're scared of our coworkers that we have to eat lunch next to.
Yeah, exactly. And like, it's not like that everywhere, but if you do find yourself that you're always stressed out at work and you really hate everything that's going on, just maybe take yourself out of, the office or, that location, and just go have your lunch by yourself. Sit outside, go in a corner and have it, just on your own. Maybe talk to someone you really like talking to, create a positive environment around your meal, basically.
I love that. That is something I really noticed when I would frequently visit Europe was I love how I would wake up and walk into the kitchen in my dad's house in Austria, and he'd already be with like his cousins around the table eating breakfast, like chit-chatting, drinking their coffee. And I'm like, America, nobody takes the time to do that. Like I wake up and I would see my mother like shoving toast down her throat to go to work.
Yeah.
So I love that. And the other thing that I really noticed when I went to Europe is the food just tasted better. Like it tasted fresher. I don't know the ingredients that go into it, but maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah. So of course, we have additives here, but there's also additives in Europe. And this is a misconception, like I want to clarify.
Please.
So everyone talks about how there's no dyes and all these things in the foods in Europe. They're just under a different name. So for example, red dye 40, what we have here in America, it's called E129 or Allure Red in Europe. So they still have it. It's still in their foods. It's just under a different name. And so that's why people think that it's not there. But the difference is, so in the US, there is a foods approval system called Generally Recognized as Safe, where it allows certain substances into the food supply that are not proven to be harmful, which that's not the best quality of food as well. It's just proven not to be harmful. Whereas in Europe, they don't really have that. And like it's a little bit stricter on the foods and the additives that are added into their ingredients, but they still exist. What I find the difference is the way the crops are, sprayed over there. They don't use as many pesticides and herbicides to spray the crops. And that's why the wheat there, your carbs that you're eating, feel better than what you eat here, because these crops are heavily sprayed in the US, whereas in other countries, you just generally eat more from the land. There are more farms. The food is just naturally more organic than here. Whereas here, it's been sprayed for so long that the soil, even if you're eating organic, it's not 100% organic.
Ooh.
Like on the box, if you see organic, it means that it's 95% organic. If you see it made with organic ingredients, it means it's 70% organic, but not more than that. And then the USDA organic means that they still use the like harmful additives, but they're just organic, they're still being used though. So
hold on, what is an organic harmful substance?
I don't know. It's
like,
just natural. Like I have no idea, but I know that it is 100% organic when it says USDA organic. However, they still use the additives. It's just made from different sources.
That's so intriguing to me. I'll never forget when I learned about the whole like grass-fed versus grass-finished thing. I know that was a big ever shocked to many people is like, just because it's grass fed does not mean that it's 100% grass fed. It has to be grass finished. And I'm like, why do I feel like that's a form of manipulation?
No. And and this is exactly what it is. What I would suggest looking for is regenerative farming or regenerative organic. So ROC, look for that label. That means it's clean. Other than that, I would just be mindful of like the types of foods that you're getting. If you really want to try and buy clean, get it from local farms that or certain fruits that have really thin layers like berries and basically any fruit that has like a thin layer. Get those organic just because it's easier for the chemicals to, seep into them. But the ones that have thicker skin, you don't really have to get them organic.
How do you feel about the Dirty Dozen list? Or what is it, the other one? It's like Clean
15
Yeah, how
and
do you feel
Dirty
about
Dozen.
that?
I've never really paid attention to them that much. You have to check in every country that you're in. I don't believe that it's the same for every region because it's based on the crops that they have here. But I would just, if you want to follow it, fine. I've never really recommended to like follow the Dirty Dozen or Clean 15 just because I do believe that it can be taken to an extreme when you tell someone like, as a nutritional professional, only eat from this or only eat from that, then this is all they're going to have.
Hyperfixation.
Yeah, and they're going to miss out on a lot of other nutrients from other foods just because this is possibly cleaner, not for sure. So I wouldn't, I personally just wouldn't always recommend
I bring it up just because always on the Dirty Dozen, there's like the berries. And that's because it has like the thin skin and it's not underground where there's like at least stuff blocking the chemicals. That's why I was so curious. I'm wondering also if while you were overseas, have you looked at the pricing of organic compared to non-organic, or is that something?
Yeah, I mean, generally, overseas it is cheaper. Whereas, like it depends on the wages as well too. So that like plays a big role. Generally your food is a lot cheaper overseas, but also wages are cheaper. So it kind of like goes into that. But here they do just like increase those prices so much for their own profit.
I will always say we have to pay more money so our food is not poisoned. But besides me just being skeptic, also something I noticed when I was in Europe is that, yes, they do have processed foods, but I feel like just in a lot of grocery stores, they do have more fresh options available. Like I feel like their produce section is maybe the same as out here, but their processed sections, like boxed stuff, wrapped up stuff, is a lot smaller. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, and that's because there's not 1,000 different brands of all of these, processed foods like we have here. We have so many different brands for so many of the same things, like so many granola bars with like 100 different brands.
So many granola bars.
Too many. Like we don't need all of them. While as over there, you just have a few that you can choose from. And again, like with like anything that's, wheat related, I do believe over there, they're just grown in like their natural environment and it's way cleaner. And there is a reason why everyone that I talk to and like clients that I see when they are traveling, they just instantly, and it's mainly IBS patients that I see, and they have no IBS symptoms at all. So it's not just regular people who don't have any symptoms on their day-to-day basis. It's people with IBS who are traveling and telling me I had no symptoms when I was in Europe and then coming back, and it's, they feel the same as when they left.
Yeah. Do you think in general they're also kind of just programmed to have a more balanced diet? Because you always hear over here like the Mediterranean diet, and it has a bunch of like these nutritious fats, where I do feel like here a lot of times, especially in the early 2000s, we demonized fat for so long. So I'm curious your perspective on how they go about their balanced diet in a way.
Yeah, I believe that here you have this extreme in dieting because of our diet culture that, we've been like, it's been around since we were young, of like having to restrict your fat just so you can lose weight and going on these extreme like fad diets. Whereas over there, it is a lot in moderation, which is always what I would recommend. Whereas here, people go on diets most of the time. You know, if they want to lose weight, if they want to achieve a certain goal, they'll go on a diet for a certain period of time and then they'll stop it and then they'll go back to eating what they used to regularly eat. And this leads to a lot of yo-yo dieting. Whereas over there, it's more because they love their food also. And when you live in certain countries in Europe, you have your local food. And even, you know, when you're in Lebanon, like we have our local food and like our homemade food that we genuinely love. And it is generally well balanced. And whereas here you're kind of picking and choosing from, you know, wherever you can. And it's not the local food of the land, basically. So I think that plays a big role. And the fact that in the US, you grow up with this dieting mentality. Of course, I didn't grow up in Europe. I don't know how it was there. But here, wherever you go, like all the supplement stores, like what you see on TV, people in the wellness world that you're talking to, everyone is kind of like, you know, wanting like, what's the next diet fad?
Definitely.
Like, what's the next thing? Like, what can help me? What's the quickest thing that can help me lose weight? Can I take like this pill for that? And so over there, it's not like that. I believe like their mindset around it is not the same as here. They don't want things to be, you know, done quickly and cutting like different steps just so they can reach this goal. Whereas here it's like, again, with like more fast-paced life, they want things to be done quickly and they want their like body, like, you know, summer body, like right away. And they will go on crash diets to get that. Whereas, you know, it's different over there.
If somebody was trying to change their diet, how would you suggest going about it? This is somebody who's probably used to eating their food fast, used to a bunch of processed stuff. And they're like, you know what? This actually sounds cool. Like taking my time, eating more whole foods, being mindful of what I'm putting into my body and trying to at least now change my palate to crave healthier foods. How would you go about that?
I would start, you know, with one meal and try and change that instead of changing everything all at once, because usually people are not really good with change and they need like step by step, unless you're like super, you know, organized and, you know, focused on this and this is your goal. But I would change one meal first. So work on, you know, breakfast, for example, and try and incorporate a variety of different foods in your breakfast that you wouldn't normally have. So try, you know, changing one meal, but also changing one ingredient that you wouldn't normally have. Have, you know, every week introduce one ingredient, or if you can, every other day introduce an ingredient that you wouldn't have, like a different fruit, a different vegetable, something that you've never eaten before, so that your body can also get the nutrition that it needs from these foods that you aren't eating. But also it gets you used to trying different things and, you know, adding more nutrients into your diet. But, you know, start slow, start with one meal. And I like saying that, you know, have your plate look like the rainbow. It should have a lot of different colors in there. Yeah. And then there's things that you will like and things that you don't like, and that's okay. And then you can kind of figure out the diet that works best for you. And then when you feel good with working with this one meal, then you can switch and go to the next one. And it's a habit that you have to form. That's the only thing. The diet has to become your lifestyle, and that's the only way it will work.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I do think that we are kind of programmed here to go drastically all into one thing, thinking it's going to work. And that is what causes the yo-yo. It's not sustainable. When you've loved one thing for so long, your body's going to go into shock and be like, what the hell am I doing? Like now I'm getting rid of all these sugars, all these carbs, all these whatever, and I'm only eating healthy. I just feel like that's also straining on your mental health potentially.
Yeah. And that's how people develop orthorexia, which is kind of like anorexia, but you're actually focused on just eating clean foods, and it can go to an extreme.
Oh my gosh. I love my people who are like organic, healthy eating, but I've seen them freak out over like eating a cheeseburger. And I'm like, I feel so bad, but also, it's definitely extreme. It's like I went to the grocery store with somebody like that, and it's everything. You can't eat that. You can't eat that. You can't eat that. Oh, we can finally have this. And I'm like, what the fuck? What are we supposed to eat then at this point?
It's your opinion. Like, I never go and tell my friends, like, you can't eat this, you can't eat that, unless they have an issue. If someone is like, has high blood pressure or is like borderline diabetic, then I will be like strict with them. But it's their life, you know, let them, it's not, no one's asking for your opinion at the end of the day. And it shouldn't be given if it's not being asked for. Yeah. So you can develop a really unhealthy relationship with healthy food if you take it to the extreme as well.
Definitely. And I think also too, it's like, okay, great, you are eating healthy, but now because you are so stressed out trying to eat healthy all the time or trying to get the most clean ingredients, you are causing a stress response. You're causing your body not to feel relaxed. And I do think that the mental part about eating is huge also. Like you were saying, take your time. They love their food. When you love what you're eating and you're like, I believe this is going to be nourishing for me, I'm going to enjoy every single second of it versus, oh my gosh, this is going to kill me. Yeah. I feel like it's a different energy, and that will also cause your body to have other issues in the long term if you're constantly concerned about your food. We're not meant to be overthinking things all the time.
Yeah. And that, like you said, increases, your stress response.
Yeah.
And you think you're doing your body something good when you're overly eating healthy and it's taking up so much of your mental capacity. But like I said, last time I was here, your gut and your brain are connected. And so when you're stressed out, that is connected to your gut, and then that can have more long-term effects if this is something that lasts long-term. So just everything really in moderation. And if you can't, then that's when I would talk to someone who, like a professional, about these things. And that's why, we have like our clients and we support them with that.
I'm also very curious your outlook on the whole gluten and dairy elimination fad that I've realized has been going on. More than ever now, if I'm in a group of girls, I can pick out at least one or two people where they're like, I don't eat dairy and I don't eat gluten. Can you kind of explain that to me when they've never actually been diagnosed with anything?
Yeah.
But
I know this one is tough, but not everyone reacts to gluten and dairy the same.
Yeah, definitely.
And yes, they are like I said, the crops here are sprayed a lot, and like wheat can cause bloating and all these things. And dairy, it is inflammatory, and so is the gluten, but not for everyone. Everybody is different, and the way we process our food in our bodies is different. Like everyone is different. So don't be afraid to eat gluten. It's fine. Like if you want to be like super safe, have sourdough bread. It has less gluten than other breads. And I generally would recommend, sourdough or like Ezekiel bread, which is like sprouted bread, that generally feel better. But dairy as well, like as long as you're getting, good sources of dairy products, because there can be some that, I know, like this is disgusting, but they say like the pus of the cow is in there.
I'm not a huge fan of, I don't mind certain dairy products. I can't drink milk anymore.
I can't
Something
either.
about it just grosses me out. I'm an almond girly all the way.
I've never drank milk, and I don't like cheese, so I don't get this issue.
Like yogurt.
Yeah, yogurt. Okay. I will have like regular, not like dairy yogurt, like regular Greek yogurt. Yeah. It's high in probiotics. Like, of course, I have that every day, or cottage as well.
Oh, I love cottage cheese.
Yeah. So whatever, like wherever you have that makes you feel good, have it. If you feel like dairy is, causing you to bloat or you're not feeling good, then okay, you can cut it out. But if it's something that you miss and you're cutting it out and you're miserable, then that's when I would do more testing and see if there is inflammation in the body. And I would look at other aspects of your diet. What else are you eating? Because again, like I mentioned last time, the FODMAPs can be something that can cause bloating. It's not just the dairy and the gluten. So look at other aspects of your dietary intake, and don't just think about dairy and gluten as the first things to eliminate if you're completely and perfectly healthy.
Yeah. Have you ever seen somebody have a reaction to dairy or gluten, then a few years later, a few months later, a period of time, let's say, they decide to try cheese again, or they decide to have gluten? They're like, wow, I'm actually okay now.
Yeah, so many people. That is most people's reactions, is that they cut it out for a period of time and then they reintroduce it and then they're fine. And I do believe like cutting things out for a period of time can kind of, cleanse your body from, the proteins and all of that. I don't know what exactly, but, and then they reintroduce it and then they're fine. So sometimes it can be a period of time in your life where you're stressed and that's causing this. And you really it's really tough when you're in a period of time where, let's say you're stressed and you cut out dairy and then you reintroduce dairy in a period of your life where you're not stressed. it could be either that, or it could be the stress that you're going through that could be causing this, or both. So cutting things out, totally and completely for a long and extended period of time, if it feels good to you, then okay. But if not, then I wouldn't, recommend it at all. And most people will reintroduce it and then they'll feel fine.
Yeah. I'm surprised that this didn't pop into my brain when we were like chit-chatting about this discussion, or even in the beginning. But how do you feel about Europeans' drinking habits versus Americans' drinking habits?
I mean, I'm not like, I think it's worse in Europe. I don't know. In some places.
What I mean. It's because like, I also remember pretty often me waking up and my dad sitting at the table, drinking coffee, but there's other mornings he's drinking schnapps at 8 o'clock in the morning with his neighbor, Bob, whatever his name is. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm curious how you do you think that having a glass or two of wine with a meal, because I do realize I'm like, every restaurant you go to, they're like red or white in a lot of places. Mm-hmm. Do you think that is something where it's like in moderation and mindful, and the way that it's sourced out there could potentially be more beneficial? Yes, I do think that they do drink more heavy, but at the same time, it seems like their health is doing okay.
Yeah. And that is
not to generalize.
Very general. Yeah, it is very generalized. But alcohol is inflammatory on your body. Everything, like if it is in moderation, that's totally fine. But when it is in excess, then it is inflammatory. And maybe they feel okay, but then you don't, like, if you go ahead and test the inflammatory markers, they could be high. But at the same time, the way it's sourced there is just way better. So there's a lot of that plays into it. But alcohol, if you can cut it out and you don't care for it, I would definitely say go ahead, because it is super inflammatory. There is zero nutritional value to alcohol. I will never be like, it's beneficial for you to have a glass of wine. Yeah.
People would just probably argue, but it's great for my mental health. In a way,
sure.
Yes, I'm like, I'm a mindful drinker.
Yeah,
like,
same.
I love a good cocktail at dinner.
Cocktails,
yeah, I would love, like, if I'm just had a day, maybe like one glass of wine. Mm-hmm. I'm used to be a binge drinker, but that's a whole other story, because I had a lot of shit going on in my life, and that was not healthy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's just something I always, when I think of the European diet, and I've been to the very like stereotypical European cities, probably like I've been all over Italy, Germany, and they do have a decent amount of alcohol flowing. That's why I was curious on your perspective.
Yeah. And I think just because that's their lifestyle, and people who are, let's say, German, like native to the land, their bodies are probably used to digesting it more than someone who isn't, So that also plays a role. I just don't see nutritional value in it. So
I completely understand that. I just had to ask. Yeah. I'm like, as we're talking, I'm reliving those days where I was like walking around different cities, and I'm like, that is something that I've noticed. Mm-hmm. So to wrap up then, what are the most beneficial takeaways you think somebody can incorporate in their diet here from other countries? I would say not from other countries, but eat seasonally. So pick your produce that is in season, because they are grown in their natural environment, and they are naturally just more nutritious. They hold more of their nutritional value, and they use less, pesticides and herbicides when these produce are grown, because it's just in their natural environment. And then also, if you do love a certain food from different countries, then try and go to like the local stores that, will get this food from these countries. Sometimes they'll fly them in from like different countries. Like Italy gets, pasta sauce and pasta from Italy. Yeah. Yes, Italy's fire.
Yeah. So, just, get your stuff from there, or try and like make things at home that are inspired by different European countries, or, other countries, not in the US, that you enjoy. Having more whole foods and foods that you make at home is just generally, you're controlling what you're eating in there, you're having in there. And that's what I would recommend. And just try adding a different food every day that you haven't tried before, like a different, fruit, different vegetable, something that maybe you wouldn't try before. And that can kind of expand your, like, not just the nutritional value, but also open you up to different foods from different countries, and not just what you're used to having every day.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And one of my favorite things that you kind of touched based on was the whole social aspect of eating. That's something that has been so influential in my life. I'm like, a good meal with good people can do wonders in so many areas of your life. So, and right now I'm also embracing my like slow girl era where I'm like, I just want to
that.
where I'm like, I just want to take
like
my
you're
time.
never like that. Yeah.
You feel like I'm never like that?
I feel like you're always on the go, but which is good.
I am. But even when I'm on the go though, I'll be like, oh, I'm rushing to get here. But once I'm there, I'm kind of like,
Yeah, you take your time.
I'm trying to enjoy it. Yes, I want to experience all the amazing things in life. So I do a lot of things. But that's one thing I've been really trying to do is when I get to where I wanted to go is really just enjoying it versus thinking of the next place I have to be.
Yeah, just be present.
Yeah.
The mental health aspect of your physical health and your digestive health is really huge. And I wish like it could be something tangible that we could like show people.
Because everybody just wants something they can see. They're like, show me the proof. I'm like, sometimes you just got to know these things, you guys, okay? Yeah. So that's something, that's so funny you say that. I do a lot of things. I do. But yeah, I've been trying to like, when I eat my meal at night, I'm like, I will light a candle. I look at it and I'm like, thanks for this meal.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So,
and like, don't watch TV while you're eating it. You know, take your time.
I'm still guilty of that.
Yeah, I know. We all are. But, you know, you also eat slower when you're out with friends.
Yeah.
Also. Like if you notice, like when you're out at a restaurant, it takes you more time to eat your meal rather than when you're home, you're just like eating super quickly. And I'm so guilty of that. Like I eat my food really quickly. So it's just a reminder to be present and to really embrace everything.
Yeah, it definitely is. Thank you so much for this conversation, Sarah. You are just so insightful. And I always leave like, because I'm kind of in this world. I love like knowing what's good for me. I love like eating organic and mental health. And whenever I speak with you, I always just walk away with such great insights. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad that you feel that way. And this is like helpful and educational.
Oh, girl, you are so, I'm trying to think of, I was going to say smart on this topic, but you are so good at what you do, genuinely. And it's so funny because I know you as a friend. And then when you put on your like nutritionist hat, I can tell you are in the zone. So it's so lovely to see it.
Thank you. Oh, that's sweet. Thank you.
So thank you for being here again.
Of course.
And thank you guys for listening. Until next time, I love you.